Today, welcome my friends and my viewers who used to view my channel. Today, I will discuss about the transformation of sentences. Transformation of sentences is a major thing for the students, those who are appearing for the Madhyamik exam or HS exam. I found in my teaching experience that the students sometimes do not give proper answer whenever they are asked to direct the sentence in any form. The form which is difficult before the students is a sentence. If it is asked to make simple from a complex one, the students sometimes do mistakes. But in case of complex sentence from a simple sentence, the students are comfortable. Today I will discuss how a complex sentence should be made into a simple sentence. Complex sentence means it has two clauses. One clause is principal clause, one clause is subordinate clause. The clause that depends upon a clause, that is called subordinate clause. And the clause depend on which a clause depends, the clause is called principal clause. For example, I know the man who did it. I know the man is a principal clause, who did it, a subordinate clause. It is one of the example of a relative clause. But if I say, though he was poor, he is honest. If I say, you make this sentence into a simple one, what will be the answer? Though he was poor, he was honest. Here, though is the linker. Though he was poor is a principal clause. He was honest. That is subordinate clause. Here, two clause. Though he was poor, his subject was modal verb. Poor is an object. If it is asked to make simple, the answer will be here, though the word linker must be omitted. Here, V verb must come. And then it should be added with ing. Being will be omitted. Being poor, the man was honest. Here, principal clause has been written in the form of being poor. That is, though linker is omitted, be verb has come, ing is added at the end of the be, and being poor, the man was honest. It has come in the form of simple sentence. So if it is said, being the poor, the man was honest. If I want to make it complex, then it should be, though he was poor, he was honest. Simple sentence means a sentence which has one subject, one verb and one object. Sometimes with infinitive, sometimes with gerund. Starting with gerund or starting with infinitive, a sentence may be formed. So in that context, I would like to say, if a student is asked to say, I know the man, full stop, I know his address. These two sentences should be transformed into one single sentence. What would be the answer? I know the man. I subject, know verb, the man object. Sentence is finished. Second sentence, I know his address. Another subject, I know is another verb, address is object, that is adverbial object. If these two sentences are transformed into one simple sentence, it should be, I know his living place. I know his address. I know the man I know the address of the man. But if I say I know his address, that means I have taken the first sentence subject, know, verb, as I, subject the same. The first sentence subject is I, the second subject is I. That's why I have taken only I, subject. I know, verb know, that I know his address. The man's address has come into one nominal compound. His address, I know his address. It has come into a shape of simple sentence. So you have to know how a simple sentence is constructed. Complex sentence is called to be a clause. Complex sentence are three kinds. One is relative clause, noun clause, and adjective clause. If I know how a relative clause is constructed, it will be easy for you, the students, to make a complex sentence into a simple one. I know the man who did it. Here, I know the man who did it. I know the man who did it. Here, I know the man is a principal clause. Who did it is a subordinate clause. Why is it? Why is it adjective clause? Because I know the man who did it. Who did it? The man. It is adjective clause means in a very simple manner. I want to make the students understand how you will be able to signify or identify a sentence that is relative sentence or adjective clause. Whenever a pronoun, noun or pronoun or any object is preceded with who, which, word linker, subordinate the subject subordinate clause, subject is who, which, and before that there is one object, either it should be noun or pronoun, then definitely, unhesitatingly, you can say this is an example of adjective clause. I know the man who did it. Here I know the man, I subject, no verb, the man object, and then who is a linker. Subordinate clause is written with the help of who is a relative pronoun and also linker. So before that there is an object. I know the man. So you can unhesitatingly you can say this is an example of adjective clause. But if it is to be written in noun clause, what would be? Then you say I know who did it. I know who did it. You just must not use object the man. You just must not use the man. I know who did it. Here I subject, no verb, who did it is object. Object to the verb know. Who did it is an object to the verb know. That is why whenever a subject is maybe a clause, a subject may be a clause, an object may be a clause. Here, who did it is a subordinate clause and it is an object. It is an object to a verb know. If an object appears to a verb in a sentence, then the very clause is definitely an example of a noun clause. I know who did it. At the same time, a clause may be the subject to a verb. That he is a good boy is known to all. That Messi is a great footballer is known to all. That he is a good footballer is known to all. That he is a good footballer is subject, is auxiliary verb, known verb to all is an object. So this is an example of noun clause. What is adjective clause? What is adverbial clause? Adverbial clause is proceeded with time, reason, cause. There are 9 types of adverbial clause. First of all, as he is poor, he is honest. As he is poor, he is honest. But in that sentence, I would like to say one thing. The students of ICSE board and CBSE board, the teachers sometimes focus and say to the students, as should not be used at the beginning of a sentence. They say, but I am very much worried. I am very much, I'm confused why the teachers are saying this. As he is poor, he is honest. They will be saying he is honest as he is poor. I don't know what the answer is. But I would like to say that as is the linker, and if a sentence is started with as, then it should be an example of adverbial clause. Though he is poor, he is honest. Though he is poor, he is honest. Sometimes we say although. So what is the difference between though and although? I would like to make the students understand about this delicate difference, though and although. If I say although he is poor, he is honest, it will be a mistake in English. Though he is poor, he is honest. This is right. Though he is poor, he is right. But if I say although, if I use although, then we must use subject, then a verb should be added. Though he did it, although he did it, though he did it is not correct. Though he is poor, he is honest is correct. But if I say although, then you have to say although he does his work, although he does his work, comma, he cannot get success. Here, the verb is here. Although, subject and the verb. But whenever we use though, he is poor. Here, though is used, then subject, then auxiliary verb. There is no finite verb. So this is the difference, a delicate difference between though and although. If now, at the stage of class 9 or 10 class students, if they write though he was poor, but though he did it, he could not get success, the students should be awarded with should be awarded with marks. But if it is examined in a competitive exam, then the answer will be negative. So if you want to make the sentence transformed, you have to know first the rules of relative clause, the rules of noun clause, the rules of adverbial clause. And you have to understand clause means there are two clauses. One is principal clause, one is subordinate clause. And if it is done, and if it is transformed into simple sentence, the subject must be one, verb must have one, and object must have one. He is poor. Though he is poor, he can do this. Being poor, he can do this. That means here is broken. Then I used be verb. B-I-N-G. Being poor. That is, it is a kind of gerund. Being poor is honest. So transformation is a very, very simple thing. If you go through the clauses, if you go through the rules of the clauses, then there will be no difficulty in understanding how a sentence is transformed. One example, transform. He was killed in a plane crash. If it is done, if it is asked to be voice change, to do voice change, what would be the answer? He is killed in a plane crash. The answer will be, the incident of a plane crash killed him. The incident of a plane crash killed him. He was punished. He was punished. If it is asked to be transformed into an active form, what would be the answer? He was punished. That means somebody punished him. Here subject somebody is omitted. Here somebody is omitted. So you have to understand. Somebody was punished means someone punished him. So if we have a detailed knowledge about voice change and also clauses, then we have to make the transformation easily and without any difficulty. But I hope that you, all the students, first of all, you understand what is clause, what is relative clause. The clause that signifies an adjective, that is called relative clause. A clause that signifies a noun, that is called noun clause. A clause, that is subordinate clause, that signifies the time or reason the clause is adverbial clause. Adverbial clause is started at the beginning of a sentence with the linker as, though, since, etc. etc. Relative pronoun is begun with the help of who, which, what, when, why. Who, which, that. At the same time, relative clause is also begins with who, which, what, that. But the difference between relative clause and adjective clause is an adjective clause has two clauses, principal clause and subordinate clause. Noun clause also the same. One is principal clause, one is subordinate clause. But the difference is subordinate clause, subject to which is written, and before that an object must be there. But in noun clause, an object must not be there. For example, that I have told earlier, I know who did it, is an example of noun clause. If I say, I know the man who did it, it will be the adjective clause. I know the man who did it is an adjective clause. I know who did it is a noun clause. So transformation is a very major thing for the students, those who are appearing for the Madhyamik HS level. So for them, I have discussed a little bit of grammar in a very lucid manner. If I hope that they can understand, I hope that it will be more, I think, benefiting thing, or more, I think for the students it will be more helpful, those who want to watch this video. And I hope that you all like and subscribe my channel. Till then, goodbye.